Hey, Verballers. Navy Federal is proud to serve over 8 million members and is open to active duty military, the DoD, veterans, and their family members. Receive a lifetime of membership benefits like a credit card APR average that is 4% lower than the industry's, member-only exclusive rates, and more. Visit NavyFederal.org/solid for more information. Call 1-888-842-6328 or download the Navy Federal Credit Union app today. Message and data rates may apply. Visit NavyFederal.org for more information.
Welcome to the Solid Verbal.
The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo woo.
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildenbrandt. Joining me, as always, over there in beautiful, still wintry, still very fatherly New York City, my man Dan Rubenstein. Sir, how are you?
Ty, I'm wonderful. I'm really, truly glad you asked. I just got a haircut.
Oh.
It feels great to do something for me.
Yeah, no, especially right now. I would imagine so.
So I would connect with you to show you the haircut, but I think that might be a bridge too far.
Yeah,
So
do you go barber shop? What do you do?
Yeah, I go to a barber shop. I used to go to a salon, Ty.
Yeah.
I used to go to really
but now you
treat
have kids,
myself.
so you can't do that. Or a kid.
I looked up barber shops in the area on Yelp, Ty. Here we are.
Here we
I don't go the full. A lot of people will go that full, real, closely cropped, almost shaved side look, the Macklemore.
Right.
Not for me. I cannot pull it off. I know it would probably behoove you to with the mane that you need shearing on top of your head, but it doesn't work for my head shape.
What size guard do you go with on the side of your head?
All scissors, Ty. I want artisanal work. Oh, yeah. All scissors.
Do you pay extra for that?
No. Same price. Same price, Ty. It's March. This is March.
I go a number 3 on the sides.
That's not bad. You ever push it to 2?
I have pushed it to 2. Mommy H wasn't a fan of that. 2 is a little too much. Little too much.
I'm going to tell you something, Ty. Not only is it March and we're beginning shows with haircut talk.
That's right.
I really desperately wanted to talk news. And like the biggest, we have new bowls in 2020 in terms of alignment. The Mountain West is no longer going to be in the Vegas Bowl, but they'll be in the new LA Bowl, which is in the new Rams Chargers Stadium,
okay.
I believe.
They'll line up for that, sure.
And the Vegas one is going to be in the Vegas NFL Stadium.
Okay.
Which, woof.
Putting
Pac-12 teams in NFL stadiums.
Classic college football venue, sure.
Brian Kelly wants to retire a Notre Dame coach.
Okay. Yep.
Not much. So we're just going to ignore news. There's just not much worth talking about. We still have a couple more autopsies left, I believe.
Yes, we have 2
Pac-12, Big Ten, the Rose Bowl schools.
Right.
I didn't want to talk about that today.
No.
It had been basically too long since the Patriot League lightning round, where I get to use all sorts of interesting adjectives. Right. So I figured we pick up people along the way, Ty. You know, somebody just wants a college football podcast to listen to. It's week 7 and boom, we're talking about Hakeem Butler. We're talking about Cliff Kingsbury potentially getting fired and going to USC. And it's amazing that you just jump in, you grab a hold, and we're your new pals.
That's right. That's what we do here on Solid
But
Verbal.
if you look at the logo under the Solid Verbal, it says Ty Hildenbrandt, Dan Rubenstein.
That's right.
And we could, yes, sound self-important by saying, let's talk about us. But it's a podcast. You already know we're self-important.
That's right.
You already know that's the direction we're going in. But if you want to know the history of the show, if you're new to the show, you can just Google it. We did an entire, pushing 2-hour episode?
Big show. Yeah, I lost my voice. Remember, I had vocal issues after doing that show. Left it all on the field.
You injured yourself.
Yeah.
But if people that are relatively new to the show want a point of reference about us as college football fans, Ty is, of course, a Notre Dame fan. I am an Oregon fan. But what gets us going? Why do we love the sport? Not the pageantry, not the tradition. Forget all of that. The literal sport itself, Ty. We'll sprinkle in some characteristics of our love for college football here and there. but we really haven't drilled down on what really, really gets us worked up about college football wise.
What
right?
gives us the vapors?
Yes,
in a college
that is
football
a very
sense.
G-rated way of saying that.
Yeah, and you hear this a lot in the podcasting world as it relates to comedy podcasts because there's a million of them, and everyone's a little bit different. And it's important if you're trying to find a comedy show that speaks to you that you listen and try to identify with the sensibilities of the hosts. And I think that's what we're trying to do here. We realize it's been a while since we connected with some new listeners and newer listeners, and we wanted to try and communicate our sensibilities just as it relates not to the media aspect of college football, not to anything other than the product we see on the field. So that's what we've got here tonight.
Yes, what gets our hearts racing?
Yes.
What gets our football pants nice and tight, right?
So we've got a list here. Whew, it's getting hot in here. We've got a list here. I'm on one side, you're on the other. We made these independent of one another, and I was pleased to see that there was a lot of overlap.
Yes.
A lot of overlap here, a lot of Venn diagrams that we need to work through and talk through over the span of the next 60 minutes. However long this goes, really, it's free content. That's where we're headed tonight.
So I would like you to set the mood, if you will, Ty. And in reference to what we're talking about, like an example would be everybody likes the large man touchdowns, right? There was an award about that.
Fat guy touchdown, yeah.
Yes. And so we are going to go many, many steps further of just things that happen during games that I think the kids on Twitter say, like, inject that into my veins.
That's right.
That kind of thing.
Right,
so if you will, Ty.
I'm going to play this. I don't know how this is going to go.
Personal foul, hands to the face, unnecessary roughness, illegal touching, neutral zone infraction, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Oh boy, Dan. Oh boy.
Really went Skinamax with it, Ty.
How much time did you spend making that Maryland Chambers bedtime drop for our lovely podcast here where we talk college football?
Shout out Bikini Car Wash.
Yeah.
Not that it did not take that long at a time. I was thinking to myself, what sort of song and musical number can we use to go into our love of what gets us going in college football? And 3 seconds later, for better or worse, I was like, all right, that's the direction.
They say March comes in like a lion, Dan, and they weren't kidding. Okay.
All right. Give me something that gets you hot and bothered.
All right. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start at the very top of my list. What I love and what gets me hot and bothered in a college football sense, I love when wide receivers catch a screen pass or even when they catch a pass 10 yards down the field. And they decide that it would be better to run east and west about 75 yards than to just run north and south to gain 4. So we've got this long, drawn-out play with way too many jukes. A guy runs a total of about 75 yards for roughly a 4-yard gain.
There was a brand new line about this, right? There was, this isn't high school. This isn't high school. Like, there, wasn't that Home on a Saturday Night?
Oh, gosh. I have no idea.
Yes, but there's something very high school about thinking I can run horizontally and find a crease, and it just doesn't work in high-level college football. And this one has a bunch of cousins, right? That has the punt returner trying to go backwards.
Yep.
It has on a reverse, trying to reverse the reverse, where everybody in the stadium knows something is futile. I love it so much. I think this is dead on. This is such a lovable aspect of college football, thinking every play can be a touchdown. It gets me going too, Ty.
Well, and you used to be, full disclosure, again, you can go back to the history of the Solid Verbal Show. You used to be a Florida State fan.
I did, yeah.
In your very early days of being a college football fan, you were a Florida State fan. And was it Peter Warwick who was your
Love
dude?
Peter Warwick. Yes. And there are certain, the 1% of the 1% can pull it off. The DeAnthony Thomas and the, what's his name? Percy Harvins, you know, who have just such electric playmaking ability that they're able to make something out of nothing because they can get to a corner faster than anybody. Everybody else,
right?
Not quite.
See, that's the thing. Like, sometimes you can find a Rondale Moore out there who can pull something like this off.
A Trindon Holiday type.
But other times, it's just a little too much horizontal and not enough vertical. You've got a cousin here listed on your list as well that we do.
There's a
need
few
to shout
cousins.
out. A few cousins. So
it's a big family.
On your list, this is one of those items where we, I think, have some alignment. Too many jukes after a swing pass.
Oh, the best.
And a guy just getting tackled on the spot.
Okay, running back's out in the slot. Is he going outside? Is he going inside? Oh, he's faking outside. Oh, a fake inside. He's going to go. Nope, went faked outside. He's going in. He must be going inside now. He's just tackled for a loss of 1.
And
that's great.
And also the running back who decides to run backwards out of a sure thing forward progress whistle, and he loses unnecessary yardage.
It's the best. It is so good, and it is one of the most secretly painful things if it happens to your team, where it's like, oh, it was a great run stuff. They got him 3 yards behind that. No. Oh, God, it's an 11-yard loss.
Yeah.
And I think people listening have immediate names that come to mind of the like far too horizontal, far too jukey, far too running out of the forward progress whistle, and it is maddening. But if I'm watching a random Oklahoma, Iowa State game, and I don't really care who wins. Oh, is it just art, Ty? It is just art.
This, to me, speaks to the excitability of college football, the raw potential of college football, everyone's love for that big game-breaking play, and also the very nature of the college game, where you've got a lot of immaturity and a lot of folks out there thinking that they're Reggie Bush.
Yes.
I love this.
Yes.
I love when this happens. Hopefully not to my team, but it always makes the game a little bit more exciting.
I am, by the way, very guilty in rec league basketball of too many jukes. On a fast break, going left, going
too many
right.
Jukes, huh?
Yep,
okay.
I'm just pulling up. I'm just pulling up. You have trapped me.
I'm retired from basketball, but my move was always to go and bury myself in the corner and try and pop a 3. As you know, I'm not exactly playing the post-up game with my basketball skills.
Are you a good shooter, at least?
Not really, no.
Okay, so you're just scared of contact. That's your roundabout way of saying.
I think so. Okay, moving on. Where are we going next?
What do you have?
No, it's your turn.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay, I love a good failed trick play.
Oh,
that's something that gets me sweaty, Ty. And this encompasses a lot. So this could be a Statue of Liberty. It could be a double pass. It could be a reverse, a flea flicker, a fake field goal, a fake punt. And there's cousins to these as well, like the a fake field goal that is executed perfectly, and then the kicker throws it 6 yards short of the intended target. There's so much good in a failed trick play. In the Cheez-It Bowl, we had the double pass.
The double pass.
Two forward passes.
I still don't fully understand that.
So they were throwing it to the sideline, I believe, and you have to throw it a little bit backwards, so it's a lateral. But he threw it a yard forward, and then they threw it forward again on the double pass. It's tough, but the flea flicker fumble, difficult to say. The double pass, which ends up with like a receiver throwing it, but it's slipping out of the receiver's hands, and they have to now go back and say, like, was his hand moving forward without anybody defending him? All of these things. And I am pro trick play. I am pro fakes. I am pro punters just getting creamed because they went the wrong way on a fake punt. There's just something about it where it's just like, it's also one of those things where the announcers will say, like, got too cute. But if it works, it works. And it's just, for me, to quote Jimmy World, it is heaven.
I want to unpack this a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to call attention to the fact that you specifically mentioned a failed trick play.
Mm-hmm.
A failed trick play. Why does a failed trick play get the specific call out here and not a successful trick play?
Successful trick plays are great. They're irrefutably great, but there is something about a failed trick play in practice. You're like, okay, we spent a little bit extra time drawing something up, and we're going to pull it out in the exact right situation, that so many things have to go into it, that there's just something chaotic that doesn't exist in it's 3rd and 8. We're going with like a pass up the seam. Oh, it was a little bit too far, and it's a failed play. But with a failed trick play, the chaos potential. Somebody who's not used to throwing it has to throw it. Somebody who's not used to running it has to run it. Somebody who has to generally kneel and catch a snap for a hold is suddenly rolling out. There's so many new mechanisms involved with a trick play that when it goes wrong, you get somebody running so fast and they've never run fast in a game, they just trip. They just trip. And I love the novelty of that.
So we're talking an Ocean's 11 caliber scheme that needs to be executed to perfection.
It's it's the Rube Goldberg machine.
Yeah, right.
That, there are so many new parts that need to align perfectly that when one thing goes wrong, it's a catastrophe.
Okay.
It is. I mean, we see it with high stakes moments in Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Okay.
We see it with no stakes moments, and it's just all things are equal to me. It could be an NAIA fake punt gone horribly awry. You remember the Colts had the terrible fake punt a couple years ago in the NFL.
Sure.
We had, what was it, a Miami Arkansas State game where there was the punt coverage team faked falling forward to his death.
Yeah.
There was that.
That was weird.
There's just You're opening up a realm to a world that nobody's fully prepared to look at. And I love it.
So
I love it.
I'm going to call out two specific things here that I don't believe you mentioned. Though you danced around one.
Yeah.
The first is you talked about the wide receiver pass.
Mm-hmm.
Something that I always get a good chuckle out of. And maybe someone's done the numbers on this. I would love to know the percentage of wide receiver passes where the wide receiver has the wherewithal to realize he probably shouldn't throw it.
Tuck and run.
It's got to be like 10% of the time because those guys always want to throw it. A lot of times they're high school quarterbacks.
It's their moment.
A lot of times it's their moment, right? They feel like they can genuinely make that throw. And the wide receiver forcing the ball into triple coverage. Again, if it's my team, it's not something I'm into.
Nope.
But just as a casual observer, it is something that gives the game a little bit more flavor, a little bit more excitement.
Cousin of that is surprise left-handed receiver.
Oh.
Surprise left-handed receiver, where you just assume everybody's right-handed, or there's just an overwhelmingly good chance that everybody's
You're so
right-handed.
right about that.
Well, how many left-handed quarterbacks are there in the NFL? I don't think there are any, right?
Not that I can think
Kellen Moore was the last one. Tua will be next, not this year, but in the next draft, so in 2 years, in 2020. But there is something disorienting. And the two I remember Antonio Brown and Des Bryant.
I remember Des Bryant very well.
And it was like hearing an actor who does a very good American accent on a TV show, and then you see him on a red carpet, and they're just like, "It was fun season, wasn't it?" And you're like, "What the hell was that? Everybody on The Wire is British?" There's something wonderfully disorienting about it. I love it.
That's so true. Oh my gosh. The other thing that I would add, I'd bolt on top of this, and maybe it's not so much a failed trick play, though they often do fail. The class of trick play that we also need to call out here. You know those ones where it's extreme misdirection?
Yes.
And we've got a guy who is literally trying to hide in the painting of the end zone, or right along the sidelines, or maybe even laying down on the numbers along the side of the field to try and blend in so that people don't see him. Or even if it's not that extreme, where you've got two punt returners back and one is waving his hand for a fair catch or acting like it's going to him when it's actually going to the other side.
That's wonderful.
That sort of stuff.
That's a little bit different. That's a
little bit different, but it's a half cousin, right?
It's the half cousin, and I would add a field goal with a guy running off the field, but he's the 11th guy and he stops right before the sideline and there's nobody out there covering him.
Same genus, yes.
Do we think, and I would love to see the footage if it exists, do we think on the end zone, the camouflage end zone, when, a Boise State player is in a blue end zone, or that's a bad example. I think we had a TCU player in the Ohio State game attempt it. Do we think pregame there is like a secret run through where that player, whoever it was, Jalen Reagor, I forget who it was, goes with like the special teams coordinator to that pylon area and they just say, this is the zone. Lay down real quick. Let's run through it. Because if we're running through plays and we're going through the first team offensive line, second team offensive line, whatever, during the walkthrough before the game, do you think there's that moment like, this is the corner, this is the move?
Act like you're stretching. Act like you're doing a push-up.
The Zapruder of that pregame walkthrough, because it's such a the trying to camouflage / make it seem like you're not on the field for a play but actually are trick play.
Yeah.
I would take home after a first date. I would probably introduce to my parents after like a week. I am all in
on that. Yeah.
Head over heels.
Yeah.
Sweating, need a cold shower.
That is George Costanza. I think it moved territory right there.
Whether it works or not.
Yeah.
The gumption to say, maybe there's a player here, maybe there's not. I don't know. Is so great. I cannot get enough.
All right. That was good. I feel like we unpacked a lot there and we actually made progress as people.
Yes, we absolutely did. And it's you know what? We are football sex positive. Right?
Okay.
On this show?
I'm gonna roll with that. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Sure, why not? Okay. All right, my turn.
Yes.
Let's talk about the defensive player who does an elaborate dance after sacking the quarterback, despite his team being down 21 points.
Yes. I am going to say that this, to me, and you can explain it further, is a positive no matter what.
I would agree with that.
Go on.
I would. Well, it's.
I'm not saying an ironic positive. I'm saying it is a genuine positive for me, no matter when it happens. Please explain your love for it.
My love for it stems from, I think, my visceral love, my raw love for college football, just as something that brings us all joy. Everybody knows when your team is down 3 scores, you shouldn't be out there doing any kind of celebratory dance.
Act like you've been there before.
Act like you've been there before. Scoreboard, you know what people are going to say. But if you're a fan of that team, or if you're just watching the game without a rooting interest, to just have someone out there on the field who is at least feeling joy with something in this game, because by that point, look, it's a blowout. Game's over. That, to me, is fun to watch. And there are many cousins of this, by the way. This isn't the only thing that kind of falls into this category, but I am all about the elaborate celebratory maneuvers after a touchdown, after a sack when the game is still close, after a pass breakup. I am all about it. I don't care about the personal fouls, the excessive celebration, the taunting.
Unless it's your team.
Unless it's my team. Let's be clear. I don't care about the taunting for the most part. I am all for this. Have fun when you're out there. But the elaborate sack dance down about 3 scores to me is extra special.
Well, the other thing is, so defensive ends, the metrics we have for them, we have tackles for a loss and we have sacks. And there are places like our friends at Pro Football Focus that do pressures or hurries, stuff like that those are not household statistics, at least not yet. And so you say somebody's leading the nation in sacks, you're like, oh my God, that's an incredible, a feat that is pretty much incomparable defensively, where it's just like, there's one guy who leads the nation, sacks are super hard, and this guy does it better than anybody else. I just looked it up online, because I'm great at the internet, Ty. YGM, Yetur Gross-Matos, considered to be, a top-level pass rusher in college football.
Sure.
He finished with, against Big Ten teams, Big Ten plays, I believe, 9 teams in their conference schedule now. He finished with 6.5 sacks against Big Ten teams, which, again, I went to a state school. My math indicates that's fewer than 1 a game. And he is considered among the best at this specific statistical accomplishment. And it's less than once, fewer than once a game. And so down 21, down 47, up 27, you're trying if you get 1 a game, you're an all-timer.
Yeah.
And so you gotta celebrate when you can, Ty. You can't let one go to waste. I will take it every time. And you mentioned the cousins.
Yes.
My truly favorite cousin of this is when a safety, and there was a safety for Oregon who was so great at this, J.D. Nelson. Safety gives up a 27-yard pass on 3rd and 21, and big hit Receiver holds on. Big hit. Guy pops up and celebrates. Like, that's right. You don't come over the middle. He just completed an explosion play in a crucial situation that you did not stop. I love it. I love the gumption once again of that, but it's more ironic in that case than the sack down 20.
All right,
celebration.
well, let's do the ancestry DNA.
Not today.
Then. Let's do the ancestry DNA then on something that could be real. It might show up in like the 4th or 5th cousin territory.
Yeah.
With a low probability.
You could marry this person and it would be at least okay.
Right.
Yeah.
What about along the same lines of the defensive back gives up the big play, monster hit, celebrates.
Yeah.
What about, let's talk about the incredibly lucky defensive back.
Yes.
You know what I mean by this?
So, like a receiver dropping a ball that was thrown perfectly to him, and the corner gets beat, and then the ball is dropped, and the corner gives like the very dramatic incomplete signal.
The incomplete, right? Exactly. Like his arms are about to come out of the socket because he's
starts
waving
bobbing
them
his head like Merton Hanks. Yeah,
back right. Guy gets torched on a double move.
Oh, delicious.
Wide receiver streaking down the field over the middle of the field. A perfect throw that for some reason goes wrong. Maybe a guy can't drag his foot along the boundary to get the completion. And there is the defensive back who had nothing to do with that play's failure, just celebrating like he drew it up at home.
You don't come to Thai Island without a visa. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Sometimes it'll happen where a DB will have a pass hit his helmet and then he will celebrate as it like he is not at all turned back to look at the ball and to high point the ball or whatever, hits his helmet, realizes in a much delayed fashion that the pass is incomplete and celebrates and also has to be told what happened.
Right.
It's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
I love it.
I'm going to give you one that it's very straightforward and I just love it. And it's pretty unstoppable in video games, and Stanford runs it 3 times a game, and it always works 1,000% of the time. That is the fake fullback dive, and the quarterback is, let's say the quarterback is turned to his right, fakes the fullback dive handoff, and then pitches it weak side to the other side, whether it's to Bryce Love or Christian McCaffrey or whoever, and on 3rd and 1, 3rd and inches, 4th and 1, 4th and inches, it's just brutal. It is just brutal, and it is something that it makes me shake a little bit. I love it so much.
See, so you mentioned this play as it relates to video games.
Yes.
This used to be a play that didn't work at all. And then along the way, EA Sports, showing our age here, but EA Sports decided that they would build the proper AI into the game so that defenses would act a little bit more realistic and sometimes fall for this, right? And then if you had a good line, if you had recruited well, if you got enough insta-commits on your team, then this is something that you could run in a key situation to perfection. But it wasn't until the latter years of the NCAA series where you could actually run a pitch play and get any serious yardage.
Yeah, no, I would never really run that like student body left if I were running a pro style offense. But the fake dive, because the dive is pretty effective in video games. If you're 3rd and inches, not many teams are stopping just like a straight ahead dive. And then you throw in I'm trying to think of the running backs for Stanford that just every single one of them, it pissed
Toby
me
Gerhart
off as an Oregon. So you got Toby Gerhart, you had Stephen Taylor.
Yep.
Who I still maintain. Stepfin was in against Notre Dame.
Yep.
I maintain. There was something magical about that play that I couldn't fully hate because I was sitting at home saying, this is what they should do. This is what they're probably going to do. And I love being right. So I didn't fully get upset. I just love that play.
The joy of the NCAA video game series to me, not to make too much of a left turn here, the joy for me always was in the passing game. And it was so counterintuitive because you knew if you had the proper beef up front, you could run it down your opponent's throat. But you just didn't want to. I got really good towards the end of that NCAA series at calling a smart route. which was
brutal.
essentially a 10-yard hook every play.
Mm-hmm.
And it was uncoverable. You could not cover it at all. You couldn't cover it with zone. You couldn't cover it with man. As long as you had a quarterback who could throw the ball to a spot with any amount of strength, that play was always open. Now, they've changed it in the newer versions of Madden where they've added a million controls. I don't even know what does what anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But that, to me, that was the only play in my quiver, and it worked wonderfully. Did you have a play like that?
Before I talk about that, screw you. Because we played, and I know what you're talking about.
That was my only play.
It's the worst. The worst. I had a couple plays. I had some sort of deep ends that worked really nicely against cover 2, but I hated people like you.
I was that
the
guy.
Worst.
All
yeah,
right.
you were the scorpion. Get over here of NCAA football.
I was going on YouTube and looking to see what worked. You know, I'd find the guy like, "What's up, boys? Let's talk about smart roots," that sort of thing.
Unstoppable, all caps play. Yeah.
All right. Before we go any further,
yes.
Every guy looks better, feels more confident when he puts on a suit.
Yeah.
Especially if it's from our friends over at Indochino, the world's most exciting made-to-measure menswear company. They've got suits and shirts that fit your exact measurements for unparalleled comfort. All you got to do is visit a stylist at an Indochino showroom and have your measurements taken, or you can measure at home and shop online at Indochino.com. Then you choose your fabrics, your colors, any design customizations like the lapel, the lining, the pockets, the buttons, the monogram, you name it. And you submit it and relax. Your suit will get professionally tailored and mailed to you in just a couple of weeks. You and I, Dan, we have to schedule our Indochino fitting. Did you still want to do that together?
Oh, 100%.
We could maybe take the podcasting gear as we do this, but we've got suits coming our way. And at some point, we got to schedule that very soon, get together and get measured for a suit.
I think we've reached the point in our relationship where it's only sensical that a tailor really gets our dimensions at the same time.
That's fine.
It has to happen.
That's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
This week, our listeners can get any premium Indochino suit for just $3.59 at Indochino.com when you enter the code SOLID at checkout. That is INDOCHINO.com. You want to enter the code SOLID at checkout. That's 50% off the regular price for a made-to-measure premium suit. Shipping's free. Again, Indochino.com, promo code SOLID. Any premium suit, $3.59 and free shipping, an incredible deal. Go and get your premium made-to-measure suit. Once you go custom, you will not go back. Again, it is Indochino.com. Your promo code is SOLID.
Do it.
All right. Daniel, your turn. Where are we going next here?
I'm going to say, okay, so we had, I think this was in the fantasy things a couple years ago, a missed hurdle, right? Like a hurdle that goes wrong.
Okay.
Like, was it Melvin Gordon? One of them in the Rose Bowl a few years ago had one that you're like, I'm going to hurdle this dude. Whoops, I did not jump high enough. We had a hurdle gone wrong.
Not everybody is Saquon Barkley.
Not everybody's Saquon Barkley. That's fine. I'm talking about hurdles going right. And that picture that inevitably gets taken of the weak side linebacker, the safety, whoever, trying to make a textbook tackle, trying to wrap up and gets hurdled and gets their picture taken at a perfectly parallel point to the ground as they tackle nobody, as they are M-bisoning Dalsim. If that's a point of reference that you understand, and God bless you if you do, that is I would argue the ultimate. What was the meme? It was something around like, "Yep, that's me. Bet you're wondering how I got here."
Yep.
Moment in a football game, and I both at the same time feel so bad. I understand why we're watching what we're watching, but I can't help but say, "Oh, you dumb fool." You are tackling nobody. And I can't get enough of that very specific picture that is just, for at least a day, a life ruiner.
College football no man's land.
Yes.
I like it.
Yeah. Tackling ghosts. We talk about seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
Tackling ghosts.
Tackling ghosts.
My favorite thing.
Let me throw one out there that I've got on my list. How do you feel about very poor field conditions?
It depends what the conditions are, because I like a snow game a lot, and that would be interpreted. And so I like it, but mud, I don't know if mud does it for me.
No? See,
No,
we've talked an awful lot on this show about monsoon games.
Yes.
And I feel like
Well, there's no more mud really because we have field turf everywhere now, pretty much.
in a lot of places, but not
So it's just puddles on
not
the turf.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And so obviously it takes the right combination of weather and turf to truly achieve the mud bowl
Mm-hmm.
style conditions that I'm referencing here. But a good mud game, a really good mud game, we're talking 3 inches of rain, downpour. They should have postponed the game, but decided against it. It
Yes.
seems like in the
When we start
Southeast-
having conversations about irrigation.
Yeah, it seems like in the Southeast, we have a couple opportunities for this every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking full on mud is, I think, number 1 on my power ranking, because you can at least alter the game in snow. You know,
Yeah.
you can adapt to more of
You
a
get super
ground
conservative,
game,
right?
and turn it into a smash mouth, 3 yards and a cloud of dust style offense.
Mm-hmm.
But when you've got nothing but pure, unadulterated mud, you really can't do anything because you can't
No.
hold on to the damn ball.
Nope.
You can't call plays. The whole game sort of turns into something it was not supposed to be. So if it's your team, surely that is not a situation that you feel great about. But from the outside in, as an aficionado of the monsoon game,
Mm-hmm.
the extreme mud of a monsoon game that you see on the field, again, if they've got natural grass, that to me is very appealing.
See, the kissing cousin that I get super into is when there are turf issues. Not
Yes.
because of weather. Sometimes, a lot of the time, it'll happen inside. You remember the Wisconsin-Ohio State Big Ten championship game where the carpet just ripped
That's right. That's
on
right.
the goal
Yep.
line. I'm super into that. I am super into national championship games or big-time games on a field that is regular grass turf. That
Like
is not a
Levi
field
Stadium.
turf. Right. Where it's just like there is a group of people whose entire job it is to grow grass and to trim grass and to think about the right time to water and care for this said grass. And then game time rolls around and there's a sinkhole on the 30.
That's right. That's right.
And then there's a sprinkler that pops up at midfield. Or, oh yeah, they have to wheel this grass in. And you just have this team of professionals who are just like, grass, huh? And you're like, wait, what? This is your job. This is the entire thing you do.
I am so amused by the fact that it's 2019. It'll happen this year. Let's be honest.
Of course it will.
2019. In many cases, these stadiums are hundreds of millions of dollars, taxpayer funded, and somehow the playing surface became an afterthought.
Yes.
The playing surface is the whole reason they built the stadium. Yet it's an afterthought. How does that happen?
By the way, our pal Nicole Auerbach wrote about the Arizona State turf. I don't know if it's good or bad. I know it's grass. And she wrote about the guy who maintains it, the head groundskeeper.
Yes.
And it's a phenomenal piece. I think we mentioned it when we
did.
Partnering with The Athletic. But now that I think about it, I really hope that Arizona State has not had any issues because I liked him so much.
Yeah.
But it is pretty astounding when there are, Levi Stadium is a terrific example. Like, how does this, it's the like, you had one job and this job is grass. Again, sinkhole at the 30. Can't happen. And I love it. I love it when it does because it's just this amazing spotlight on incompetence. It's great.
Let me throw out another one here.
I'm ready.
I want to get your take on this. I don't know if this is something that we've ever discussed at length on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything about the rugby style punt.
You put this on our list, and I really had to think about what I thought about it. My opinion, but expand.
Will the punter tuck it under and run?
Always you're like, oh, will he, won't he? Yeah.
Will the defense get close enough to block the kick?
Mhm.
There's a lot more uncertainty with the rugby style punt. He almost always, the punter, punts it away.
Sure.
And they get that top spin on it. It's not the traditional punt that you're used to seeing if you watch football for your entire life.
It's wonkier for sure.
It's different. It's more directional, right? It's a different style of punting, but there's definitely a little bit more uncertainty in the process. And the punter, if he so desires, has more options. He can run it. He could decide he wants to throw it. He could bobble it, and the whole thing goes horribly wrong.
Well, that's the thing.
I never felt great about this until I started thinking more about it. And as I thought more about it, it just always felt to me like there was so much more uncertainty with each play that I sort of grew to love it. So for me, the rugby style punt encapsulates a lot of what I love about college football.
About 4 years ago, I was going for a run, Ty, and I just hit the smallest crack in the street. And I didn't fall. I fell slowly. And there's nothing worse than just slowly losing your balance and trying to, oh God, I'm going down. Big boy's going down. And that is the concern to me with the rugby punt.
Yeah.
I guess it's even coupled with the, like, if the turf is at all bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever tried to run even 50% and then kick a ball as hard as you can or kick it with accuracy with, in a pinpoint direction. It's one of those, just like the trick play going wrong and why that appeals to me and my blood. The rugby kick going wrong and the announcers doing some quick math and saying, well, the punt went for, it looks like 6 yards.
Yeah.
Because the shank potential is through the roof. So I appreciate the rugby punt in a vacuum. I am willing to hook up with a rugby punt going wrong.
I am terribly afraid of every rugby punt going wrong. So much shank potential there.
Yes. Shank potential, trip potential, punter being absolutely annihilated, and then they have to have a competition on campus because there's no other person on the team who can punt.
He's got broken ribs. He can't move. Yeah.
By the way, that's another thing that's not on our list. But punter or kicker tryouts in the middle of the season.
Open tryout.
Oh my God. I don't wish I were still in college. I had a great time in college, but I'm glad I'm not in college anymore. I implore anybody listening, if your school has open tryouts to be a punter or kicker, I don't even care if you try out, but if that's the only way you can go watch open tryouts, please do and report back. Oh my goodness.
What do you think is the longest field goal you could kick? Could you make an extra point?
No.
You don't think you can make an extra point?
Kicking is hard, Ty.
It is hard. I could make an extra point. I'm confident I can make an extra point.
My favorite part of the open tryout for a field goal kicker or whatever is inevitably that is like a talking point that the announcers know about. Like, oh, Brian Thompson, just last week he was just a chemistry major. Now he's kicking for Boston College. And he comes out and he looks like an 8-year-old wearing a Halloween costume.
Right.
What was the brand? Huffy? That he was wearing one of those plastic helmets. You're like, oh, I think his shoulder pads might be on backwards. His cleats look way too big. His cup looks like it's horizontal. No, there's just a bunch wrong with the look of, I love it so much. And I root for him. Let's be clear. I want that dude to have a golden boot.
Yeah.
But oftentimes,
no,
not so much.
All right. I did 2 in a row. Your turn.
Okay. Let's go with, you know what? I love a good grab away fumble.
So
doesn't happen often.
So a guy just sort of rips it out.
Guy rips it out, and especially rips it out not like in the middle of a pile. That'll happen. There's nowhere for the ball to go. Sometimes guys just rip it out and are like, oh wow, no, I guess it's Ole Miss ball. It's more the open field during a tackle. Ed Reed just lays waste to a dude and in the process takes the ball and starts running the other direction. It is such a pantsing. It is such a humiliator that I can't help but want to do very romantic things to that play. I love a good grab away out of nowhere because it happens so bang, bang.
Right.
Not to be too
sure.
Bang, bang. It happens so quickly where you don't see anything squirt out. Hey, you don't see a scramble for a ball. It's just immediately, oh, everything has changed. The offense is now definitely the defense. And I love that moment of just complete and pure chaos without even a split second of a change of possession.
This is a first cousin of the quarterback who inadvertently throws an interception to a defensive lineman.
Yes.
Who just goes streaming down the field for an easy 6.
The defensive lineman, like a nose tackle who on one play out of 100 drops back into coverage to cover like shallow crossing routes. And there's an interception, not because he tipped it, not because he threw it right to him at the line, but because he was like, you know what, I'm going to drop back real quick, see what happens. And it's just a little stinker about it. I love that moment where Haloti Ngata is just, I know I'm saying Oregon players, where Mount Cody drops back into coverage. You're like, ooh, wow, that was
didn't know
not
Lewis
a fun
Nix could
interception
do that.
throw.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. It's a wonderful moment.
All right. Give me another one.
I mean, this sort of falls under the trick play thing, but it's not. It's an unintentional trick play when there's a bad field goal or extra point snap, and it's very clear that there's no time to put the ball down for the kicker. It's so arrhythmic. It's just not going to happen.
And the holder tries to put it down, but accidentally just lays the ball down on the ground because he has no other option.
And then there is that moment. Again, it's one of those, yup, that's me. I bet you wondered how we got here moments where he's like, I got to do something. And then he is the Huffy kid.
Right.
He is the sprint out, the throw to the corner of the end zone, hoping for the best. Obviously, it just goes straight out of bounds.
To the lineman who is ineligibly downfield.
And to the lineman. And 100 out of 100 times, that holder's helmet gets twisted around his head as a result of the play. Where it's just like the holder's a punter or like the third string quarterback, and he just maybe grabs any helmet. He's like, I'm just holding it, like whatever. And running for his life, Caleb Sturgis is just yelling at him. And it just goes so horribly wrong. And the announcers say something like, well, you got to feel for that kid. He tried to make something out of nothing.
Right.
And there is never something. There is never, ever something but a twisted helmet.
And then there's always the shot along the sidelines, first off of him walking to the sidelines in disgust. And then once he gets there, oftentimes hanging around the medical tent. Not sure, not sure if he's hurt enough to go in, not willing to admit to himself or anyone that he's hurt enough to go in, but surely feeling the pain after having his neck
He's never
twisted.
used the muscles
that
are necessary as a holder to sprint out and throw a pass on a route that's not supposed to even happen. He has like a concussed hamstring. There's an injury that has not even been diagnosed in the medical community. That's what the holder has.
And this is when they burn the red shirt to get a new holder the following week.
Open practice.
The open practice. This is all fitting together.
What do you have?
Okay, I've got players fumbling the ball out of bounds or through the end zone for a touchback.
Oh, this does not get me excited. This is a cold shower.
This is one where, did you say a golden shower?
Cold shower.
Okay, thank you. Much better.
As far as you know.
I am all about this. And I know it makes me among the very few in college football media who's okay with this. Every time it happens, there are folks out there grumbling, they should move it back to the 20-yard line. Should be a change of possession the whole night. I love this.
Really?
I love this. Hold on to the damn ball if you want to score. If you don't, if you fumble it out, that's the one place on the field where it will be doubly punishable to fumble it. Do not fumble it through the end zone for a touchback. I've never had a problem with it. I love every time it happens when it doesn't happen to my team.
You act like it's something that can be controlled. Sometimes it's stripped. It's not just somebody reaching and it slips out of their hands.
Well, that's fair too. But don't fumble the ball.
You can prevent being stripped,
Don't fumble the ball through the end zone. Otherwise, you're going to pay mightily for it.
But that's worth a turnover?
Worth a turnover.
With a non-recovered fumble is a turnover.
I'm telling you, I enjoy the fact that the rule is inconsistently applied when you get down to the very spot where it matters the most. I appreciate that in college football. And I know I'm in the minority here.
Yeah.
I know it, but it does it for me, Dan. I love it. I love that rule.
We should, by the way, I'm just going to jump in right now because I'm positive everybody listening has like the certain instances and plays and scenarios on the field that they love. please do tweet us at solidverbal, email us solidverbal@gmail.com. We will recap the best of what you guys submit probably on our next episode, because
It's the off season. We got
there are
nothing
1
but
million.
time.
Yeah, it's the off season. There are millions of scenarios that happen, and these are just the ones that are getting us going even in the cold of March.
The other thing that I would add is we're trying to be a little bit more active on the Instagram feed.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be a good place. If you don't already follow
Send us a message.
the Solid Verbal, we'll post
Just at Solid Verbal, right?
Yeah, at Solid Verbal, we'll post something both on the normal feed and in the story to try and solicit some other things that we might have missed here. So we're at
And
Solid
you were going to
Verbal.
start gramming from the mystery day job, right? You were going to start. Ty, be cool. It's just say, I'm thinking about.
Oh yeah.
We need followers.
Sure, Dan. That sounds like fun.
No, follow us on Instagram and message us your scenarios that really get you going. This one is one that sounds mean and cruel, but I promise you, I hope this is temporary and everybody is okay when I see this. And this is both in video games and real life, the hamstring injury that happens in the middle of a long run.
No.
And it goes from, was there a Packer who this happened to? Was this like a Sterling Sharp, Javon Walker, somebody in that era? I might be making this up, but a hamstring injury during a long breakaway run. Nobody is within 10, 15, 20 yards. And all of a sudden they pull up, but they don't go down. It's just they go from running like a 4.40 to like a 10.40. And it becomes a will he or won't he make it to the end zone before being tackled when it seemed like a sure thing. And all of a sudden it's just like, and down the stretch they come. And it's a wonderful moment for me, as long as it's just a cramp and not really a hamstring full like tear.
See what I'm thinking of. I'm not even thinking of on the football field. Do you remember that race back in, had to be the late 90s between Michael Johnson and Donovan Bailey?
Where they ran like the 150?
They were trying to do the 150 meter race.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Michael Johnson was losing at the time, but did something to his quad and pulled up lame.
Right.
And there was all sorts of reaction to that. Like, did he do it on purpose? But he just sort of went out. He was going at a very high rate of speed. He's an Olympic caliber runner. And all of a sudden,
at one point, the world's fastest man. Yeah.
Just pulls up lame because it happens. Yeah. And you see that happen on the football field. And you do hope everyone's okay. But it is certainly a sudden twist in the plot.
Would you ever flop?
Would I ever flop?
In any scenario, playing sports. Like you're saying, people accuse Michael Johnson of flopping in the 150.
Yeah.
Would you flop if it, one, gave your team an advantage, two, saved you some pride of being just absolutely demolished at something?
100%.
I would, and I have.
100%.
We are not role models.
100%.
Kids, try your best, but sometimes you got to do what you got to
Now
do.
that you mention it, I have here players dramatically overplaying the victim card in an effort to draw a personal foul. So we're talking full-on South American soccer style flopping.
Jamal Adams, who, by the way, is excellent, but was really good at this for LSU.
Just going out there, there's a fracas of some sort, confusion, refs don't know what's going on, announcers don't know what's going on, and out of nowhere, a guy just flops.
Well, like, it'll get hit in the
foul.
shoulder pad as somebody runs by him, and he will act like he was hit by a Mack truck.
That's right.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the ingenuity. I appreciate the devotion to team to try and get an extra 15 yards. I'm all for it.
I am too, I think. In the moment, it's like, oh man, that's like a chicken-ass move.
Yeah.
But the more I think about it, it's like, it's dog eat dog. If you can pull it off and get the flag, I wouldn't love it as a consistent practice. I wouldn't love it in the NBA way and the soccer way, where it really affects the tenor of the game.
I agree.
But in football, a 15-yard penalty that takes a team from the 12 to the 27 or the 40. If it really doesn't change and flop the game, no pun intended, flip the game, I guess. There is something to it. And I would never flop during a rec league basketball game unless I really didn't like the other team. If the other team was being terrible and just like talking trash or just obnoxious, that's when I would drive the lane. And as I was shooting it, as I was going for a floater, I would grab my eye or grab my nose and check for blood.
Right.
That was my move. I would check for blood all the time. So, yeah, as if it doesn't fully change the tenor. Yeah, I'm good with the Jamal Adams.
It's the wild draw 4 card, and you can't play it in all circumstances.
Would you be okay with, like the NBA and how they've legislated it, calling the flop as a penalty and reversing it?
I think so. Yeah,
because
absolutely.
it would force you to be so good at flopping.
That's right.
That you would have, if you're going to do it, you have to really sell it and really time it right with the contact.
We're talking a Coach K style school of drawing charges.
Yes.
You need to learn how to perfect that art in order to get those extra 15 yards for your team.
Charges. I think I am better with flopping in basketball than I am with charges. I think charges are BS.
Okay.
I think it's cowardly, but I just am advocating for flopping. So
I think we're in agreement here. I think we've reached alignment on something else. All right. So we're running to the end of the show here. And there are a couple other ones that are,
what do you like?
That are on the list. I'm going to go rapid fire through a couple of these. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of along the same lines as your player pulling up lame. I have the chain gang getting obliterated on the sidelines.
The most pointless people on a football field.
I don't want anyone to get hurt. These are innocent bystanders. But what always cracks me up is when you've got a 300-pound lineman, somebody moving with
barreling out of bounds.
A tremendous amount of force towards the sidelines, and they break the chains. When the hardware literally fails because you've got these monsters of men going out there trying to get an extra yard. That, to me, is always worth a good chuckle.
The chain gang is something that I never understood why we need people doing this job.
I don't get it.
In 2019. And if I were on the chain gang, I would be embarrassed to tell people that that's what I did. I would say working security. Oh, I work in the replay booth. Oh, I'm a ref. Oh, I'm a sideline judge. Oh, like I help out with the cables and the TV crew on the side and make sure nobody trips over. Oh, I'm the get back coach. There's all sorts of support roles on or near a football field. To tell people, yep, I hold a pole and then I walk a little and I hold it again. It is so dumb that we have humans doing this.
I see, and along the same lines, now we're talking technology, which gets into MySpace.
Yeah, let's automate these idiots.
MySpace, not the MySpace.
Yeah.
How about the landline telephones that are still on the sidelines as the primary means of communication for the quarterback or some member of the offense or defense to talk to the booth?
Right. I get this a little bit. After what there were accusations in New England that like the phones were tapped.
I get
the walkie-talkies were tapped.
I get why they do it. I don't understand why it still looks like these are 1970s style rotary phones that they're talking into.
What do you want it to look like?
I don't know. Modernize.
You want it to look like you're an office phone?
Sure.
I think the rotary phones are good because they're super loud in a stadium. I think that's why like the rotary-esque old-fashioned phone is so boomingly loud. I think that's why.
Is it? I don't know about that.
It is rough though that to throw a terrible interception, have to go over the sideline and ring.
In the NFL,
like,
they're
cool.
carrying around Microsoft Surfaces on the sidelines
and spiking them. Yeah.
And the best they can do is a rotary phone. I don't know. I always get a kick out of that. What else do I have here? I have the dual threat quarterback who tries to keep the play alive a little too long.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tecmo Bowl style, just keeps running backwards.
Well, along those lines, third cousin, I would say, quarterback who can't slide. Oh, he's been practicing. He's been practicing his slides. He's getting pretty. Was it RG3? Who was it? Who's like, yeah, it's an issue because we don't want him taking contact, but he just looks like a baby giraffe when he tries to slide.
And they somehow slide with both feet out, risking permanent injury by catching the spike.
They just drop. They just drop down and they don't slide forward. It's great.
The only other
it's
thing
like a T-ball slide.
The only other thing I have on my list is referees that botch the penalty announcements.
Always good.
By either not knowing what the foul is when they turn on the microphone to announce it to the crew, or by thinking they know what it is and just getting it terribly wrong.
Yeah, that is. I mean, there are Pac-12 clips, and like where one ref is pointing one way with like the first down signal, and the other ref is pointing the other way, and they need to sort of get their wires uncrossed. That's always great. Usually happens out west, but totally agree with you. I like the sideline trying to affect the call with like the bobble Pedro Serrano type motion.
Yeah.
Or like the incomplete, or the ball was down. I would be so excellent at that, Ty.
I do that at home when I'm watching a game.
Always do the juggle, do the pass interference.
Throw in the flag, the imaginary flag, sure.
Oh, you pull it out from your hip.
Yep.
And I will toss like 4 of them like I'm taking tissues out of a Kleenex box. Like, oh, pass, yes.
I do that when I'm watching a soccer match. Throw the imaginary. If they don't even throw flags in soccer.
You'll take out your imaginary yellow card or red card.
That's right. No. I'll take out the football flag for a penalty.
You will take out the flag. You will cross sports.
It's just wired into my DNA at this point to try and throw the flag on a foul. Yeah, if I'm playing FIFA, I'm trying to throw the flag, and they don't even do that in soccer.
I mentioned loving surprise left-handers with the
that's
wide
great.
receivers.
That might be my favorite one we've discussed tonight.
I also like when a quarterback has his dominant hand, usually his right hand, as he's rolling left, transfers the ball to his left hand. And I think Patrick Mahomes did it recently.
This was a Gus Frerotte move. Gus Frerotte did this back in the day.
It either goes very right or very wrong. I love the and they do it in tennis sometimes where they get caught off. They're wrong-footed and they just take a stab at it with their offhand. And it never really goes right, even when it does. I like that moment a lot, Ty.
Okay.
I really do. I truly do. Let's see. What else do I have? Anything else that really gets me going? We had the grab away fumble.
You have on here.
What do I have?
The older coach getting blown up on the sidelines.
I felt bad about that one, but I do like it. It happened to Joe Pa. It happened to the Charlie White. I don't think was Joe Pa seriously injured. I don't think he was.
Yeah,
I think he probably just had like a bad
leg.
bruise.
He broke his leg.
Oh, Joe Pa broke his leg.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still fine by me, given all the things. The Charlie Weiss thing is sad. He tore his ACL. And that was a bad looking penalty. I just there was something that like, oh, it's not coming over here. I'm fine. Oh God. Oh God,
we're terrible.
It happened so quickly.
We're gonna get thrown in jail for this.
It's okay. I think that's all I could think of at this moment.
Okay.
But the surprise left-handed receiver is very good.
Well, these are the things that give us the college football vapors, the things that
these are
spark
turn-ons.
College football joy. Mm-hmm. Write in, let us know what you think. Follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. We've also got a subreddit started by Verballers, for Verballers. Mm-hmm. Comment it up. You might hate the show. You might love the show. Let us know what you think about that as well by going on out to iTunes.com/solidverbal and leaving us a review. We always appreciate it.
Yep.
Please do check out our good friends over at Indochino, Indochino.com/solid if you'd like to cash in on that deal. This is a fun show. This is a show that I think you and I have been stewing over for quite some time now. We've been collecting these items on the list. So it's finally
getting steamy. Actually,
it's very high. I lost my shirt about midway through.
I didn't mention this. I don't know if I sound any different, but I am now broadcasting from a closet.
Okay.
I am now. So 3 years ago, I lived alone, I think, right? 3-4 years ago, I lived alone and just did my podcast wherever. Then I moved in with Jody with an I and started doing it in like a side room that was like a half studio, half like I had my dresser, but it was quiet and it did the job. And then we moved into a bigger place and I had that separate room that I set up for both audio and video things and podcasts from there and dampened the walls and did all those things to make it sound all right. And then the solid baby came along and like, well, he needs a room. So that my podcasting setup got moved out to like where the kitchen table is. And then his stuff started mounting up. And so now I'm in the you called it the Danik room.
Yeah.
AKA the Cloffice, AKA the Danjon. I am in a walk-in closet and that's where my desk is. I have my wife's work clothes to my left hanging up and some audio dampening foam all around me. And this is my life now.
You are effectively college football's Milton Wadhams at this point.
Milton Wadhams. That is, I have been danished.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you sound wonderful as always.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for tuning into the show. Again, follow us on social media. Write in. Let us know what gets you going on the college football field. We'll be back in a week. In the meantime, for that fine gentleman over there, my good friend Dan Rubenstein, for myself, Ty Hildebrandt. Thanks again for tuning into the Solid Verbal. We'll catch you all soon. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.